Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Michael Levan, and in this video, I'm going to show you 8 or maybe 9 ways to manage asset configurations or dynamic configurations in Kodiak. If you're not familiar with what they are, think about it one or two different ways. Key value pairs, right? Like replicas equal 4, maybe a label, maybe an annotation, something along those lines. And another way that you can think about it is, you know how you have like a Kubernetes manifest and you have image, and then you have the image name and the replica count, and then the replicas. Those are essentially key value pairs in YAML, or in other words, environment configurations or dynamic configurations. Now we can easily manage these in Kodiak, and I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do it. Don't worry if you only want to watch 1 or 2 of them, that's totally cool. Don't want to overwhelm, because there's a lot of different ways that we can do this. But we're going to see a couple of different ways in the UI, and then we're going to look at the CLI and see how it works there. All right, let's start off in the Kodiak UI. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Asset Configuration. And then from Asset Configuration, I'm going to go to Nginx. Okay. And we can see a couple of different configurations here. And there are 2 options. We can either utilize, well, actually there are 4. We can either utilize this footprint here, which it just has some standard Kubernetes stuff like setting CPU limits and requests and replicas and all that. Volumes, so if you have any persistent volumes. Secrets, which you can pull from Azure Key Vault or AWS Secrets Manager right now. And then another type of value. So this could be like setting a label or something like that. Now, this is for the main configuration. You can also do it for various environments. So if you have staging, prod, dev, etc., you can override the main value. So notice here how I have a replica count as 4. In dev, I have it as 3. And then if we go back to my actual deployment, we can see that because it's running in dev 1, it took the 3 replica count instead of the 4. So it's actually taking that dynamic configuration there. All right, so now let's go to the CLI. I'm just going to use VS Code's terminal just because it's easier to do this. So if you like things done from a programmatic fashion, this is the way you can do some similar things plus some other things. So let's type Kodiak. You could also just do COD config help. All right, and we got a couple of different options here. We can add, delete, deploy, import, set, and view. So let's try Kodiak config add. So first things first, we're going to choose what asset. I'll go with Nginx. Okay. You could do create new. And then you got a couple of different options here. You have some environment variable stuff. If you want to specify a file, file store, footprint, Helm, which is awesome, annotations, label, probing, etc. So let's do an annotation. And then with this annotation, I got to give it a key value pair. So maybe I'll test out the Istio injection sidecar. Right. I'm going to say where it's going to go. So in this case, Nginx Levan cabinet. And then the value, which is going to be true. Apply, and boom, that's it. So our annotation now exists. All right, now the next thing that we can do is we can do COD config view. Same thing, we'll use Nginx. Notice here how we now have the annotation. And as we can see, if we choose the right cabinet, we can see that annotation right there. We can also delete one. So if I do Kodiak config delete, again, Nginx, annotation, I could choose all or just one. I only have one, so I'll choose that one. Notice here how it says true next to Nginx Levan because that's where the annotation exists. It doesn't exist in any of the other environments or cabinets. All right, beautiful. Now we can do a Kodiak config settings get. All right, again, we'll go Nginx. Okay, now notice here how we have all the environments, but in dev 1, it shows 3. But if we choose the main enterprise, we can now see, boom, we do have our configuration member for our replica account is 4. All right, so now let's take a look at Kodiak config settings get. All right, and I'm going to use a different asset for this, Go Web API. I'm going to use the appconfig.json. This is the file that's sitting within your asset as it's running. That way it can pull all the dynamic configurations, right? Now notice here how in dev there are 3. All right, and we can see here are the 3 right here. So now I'm going to run a command, same command, cod config settings get, except what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to output it to a file called dev.json. So we can see we're calling Go Web API, calling from enterprise main. Here's the file name that it's pulling the configurations from, like we just saw, appconfig.json, environment dev, and then it's outputting to dev.json. All right, so now I'm going to run cat here, and boom, as we can see, here are the configurations. Now what we can do, since we have the configurations file, is we can add configurations based on the file. So with this command, cat dev.json, cod config add, which we saw, enterprise main, asset Go Web API, file appconfig.json, and then for the environment, I'm going to send it to staging. Boom. And as we can see, those were added successfully. So these are just a few different ways that we can manage assets. All really, really cool stuff. Hope that you enjoyed and hope this video helped you out.